This is just an acknowledgement that I'm getting support and training from part of implementation science. The article you all have, at least some, you have handouts there. It was consult to community. This article was selected basing on it is a true implementation science paper, which started right from the beginning up to the end. And as we shall be discussing, shall see what the challenges they face throughout the what they are throughout the process of running this study. So this is just was published BMC Public Health, and it was published it was run between 2013 to 2016. Publication was done in November 2017. Just a brief background. Implementation science basically involves research right from translation of evidence-based medicine up to the time when it is routine care, which involves then behavioral interventions. And this has to begin right from the evidence-based RCT. So before we start and implementation, you have to have evidence up to the time that this study is in the community and in different public health settings where we're doing the study. I brought up this table just from the Nature 2012. It shows exactly what processes you go through up to the level of implementation science. We begin with the basic science, which is basic and applied science, preclinical. In this area, they didn't have preclinical in the paper we're going to discuss, but if you notice that they had first look at literature, which was there based on WHO guidelines, and also compare different countries between Australia and USA, and the problem, exactly how big is the problem, and what are possible solutions they will be carrying out. Then from there they went, if you look at implementation science at the clinical stage, they had a randomized control trial before, but if you notice before the randomized control trial, there are a few pilots they first carried out to first see the feasibility of the control trial, and even after the trial they carried another feasibility to see whether the outcome of the study itself could be put into practice. And from there you go at population level to see whether your outcome will be attained. If you look at the study we're going to discuss, at the population level they had to look at exactly how the study is being carried out and what are the possible outcomes. And you find that even some of the participants did not know, they were just surprised that they were carrying out a study. I still continue the intervention translation to community setting is a process that's interactive, and it requires adapting both the people who are trying to translate information to the community and also the community itself, which is quite different from a randomized control trial whereby you have set protocols which is rigid and cannot easily be altered. You take it to the community and members of the community, so inform them, they're well informed that they're under research conditions, and they start participating. Evaluation priority of community programs include: one, you have targeted program outreach, and what is its uptake. Fidelity here, fidelity means that the way intended to carry out the study is the way it is being carried out in the community. And also sustainability, after the close of the study, was the outcome, is it continuing to be in the community? Because if we are taking out study outcomes into routine healthcare setting, doesn't mean that when you carry the study, you should go away with your good results, but you should assess after whether these results they are being, because well taken up within the community setting. And all these have to involve the contextual of social, political, and economic factors so that you can be successful in implementation. So if you attend some sessions about implementation science, you find that there are different stakeholders who come in to play a role in making successful study outcomes. The end of this study, we are trying to describe translation of evaluation framework from an RCT to a large-scale community intervention. The PEACH program which we are using here was a case study, but they are trying to show using the PEACH program it's possible to move from an RCT to a community intervention, and later you will assess whether this intervention was maintained within the community. So the PEACH here we shall talk briefly about the PEACH program, but it's all just a case study to be able to understand the framework they used and how they tried to compare this framework with the way they were running the study. And the second thing, if you look at the second aim was really which explains what I've been talking, that they are looking at that to see what happened between an RCT and implementation research, and what have we got to learn from this as an outcome of this study. The methods, I said, PEACH stands for Parenting, Eating, and Activity for Child Health. They developed this from they didn't develop it actually. WHO noticed that actually childhood obesity is a global health concern, and had put up guidelines through which they have to be able to control this epidemic. And so when they assessed that, one of the issues is we should not only look at that and involve only children, but we have to involve both parents and children together so that they can be able to control this epidemic. Australia, they had noticed that they had basically an epidemic of childhood obesity, and when they did literature, they found actually they were compared with other countries which are developed like US, found theirs was quite high. So they developed this idea to have this program to see, first of all it was a research, to see if it could be feasible to run into their community. They went into, it was the first 6-month program, and it involved like 10 counseling sessions where they involved trained health workers. And these health workers were nutritionists and dietitians. And they were basically, within those 6 months, they had to carry out 10 sessions, of which the last sessions were person to person. And in terms of person to person, they used telephone contacts. The program really progressed from conception across the continuum of translation, which I touched on briefly, and it took 17 years. Aditha published a paper about stages of implementation science, and if you notice in his background, actually he clearly reports that most of the studies take a duration between 15 to 20 years from the level of RCT to be put into action. So you see that this study really is, during the period it took, is actually what even different researchers had found out. And during the period why they came out with this, they realized that there were 3 stages. And if you notice that the conceptual study from 1999 up to 2016, it's going like this, sorry, because I couldn't fit it here, but it's moving clockwise. They had observed from clinical practice and epidemiology data, as I've explained, that in Australia they had a lot of what? Childhood obesity was a big problem. And when they do literature review throughout, they realized that actually there are some implementation issues they could carry out to be able to control this epidemic. And this took place between 1999 up to level 2004. So during this period, they developed an intervention, which was on a small scale, to see whether it was feasible to be able, whether it can be able to control this epidemic. And then when they realized that this intervention was feasible, if you notice that the PEACH, that's the RCT, it was able to control, to reduce the childhood obesity from basically up to a level of 8% at 6 months. And then they also went ahead and did the help, which was a small pilot, and reduced the childhood obesity by 10%. So when they continued to carry out a small community intervention, which they called PEACH IC, they realized that actually it would reduce this from about 5%, and the PEACH QLD was the community intervention, which was now really the implementation program, and also was able to reduce the childhood obesity by 6%. The hypothesis that previously RCTs are very efficient, which they say efficacy trials, because they do it under controlled conditions that are well managed. However, here when they did it under normal conditions, whereby routine care setting, they found that actually the difference was not all that significant between the RCT and the routine conditions. So they said sometimes RCT tend to overestimate the outcomes, but just because they are done under ideal conditions. The study was cleared by all the relevant ethics committees. Just back to our diagram here. In 2004 and 2007, they did the small PEACH RCT study that involved about 169 families. And when they discovered, that's what I said, the outcome was about 10%. Then they continued ahead and did a small study, which was the pitch IC, small scale. And the outcome they obtained was 6%. From there, they went ahead to do a community trial, which we are going to evaluate, which we are going to see today and discuss more in detail about the framework they utilized. Just a brief background about this program. As I said, it is a family-based, family-focused parent program about child weight management. And the aims were increase the capacity of the families who participate to adopt health lifestyle-related health kitting and physical activity. The second one is promote healthy weight and weight management through sustainable behavioral change. I put the sustainable behavioral change in red because it's very important, as I said at the beginning. When we do implementation science, we have to ensure that at least when we left the study has to continue, if at all it had good outcomes. It was a community delivery project, and they used a RE-AIM framework component. We've had different speakers talk about different frameworks. We've had PRECEDE framework, which has been presented here, a study about PRECEDE. We've had a study about behavioral framework, about COM-B framework, and we've also had a study about theoretical domain framework, which have all been presented here. Today now we have got an opportunity to present a study which has been done in another framework called RE-AIM, and why they went to do this. RE-AIM framework stands for recruitment or reach, efficacy or effectiveness, adoption, implementation, and maintenance. So there are basically 5 components of this framework. In reach, you target individuals, and here you look at the outcome directly. How are people participating in this in your study, and how is it represented? Is it a representative of the whole community you're interested in, or it was just if you target, let's say, 18-year-olds, and then you're not getting the target population, so you have to look at it. Then next you have to look how was it represented. Is it representative of the whole population? That this study can as well be taken to another area and can be well extrapolated. Then efficacy or effectiveness, program success rate at an individual level. Here we look at the outcome of interest, and this if it can impact on the quality of life and negative outcomes. Here we are not looking at efficacy, we are looking at effectiveness, because we are going into routine setting. As I said, efficacy needing the ideal conditions, especially in RCTs. But here now we are looking at it, what happened exactly in the routine care practice. Program uptake, program acceptance, and uptake at organizational level. How was the participation? Because here we're looking at the organization. With implementation science, we don't look at only individuals, we look at the whole cascade in care, all the stakeholders involved. Even if you have a study which is involved, like border riders, you have to include them. You have to include the community. You have to include the health workers, if at all you are involving health, like here in the pitch. They had to involve the parents, and not only the parents, even the family members had to be involved, and also the community at large. For example, if you are doing a similar study like here, you have to involve the community, because you know children belong to the community, not to an individual family. So you have to put that how it will be taken up at organizational level. Then implementation, how are you going to carry out this study? Extend that intervention, it's supposed to be exact where intervention was delivered as intended. When you went to deliver this intervention, you had an idea. Is it the way it was delivered, or when you reached there, you found actually there were different ways? So you are supposed to explain if you found all challenges and what could have influenced your outcome. Time and cost of interventions. I've had an opportunity to work on an implementation study. It's a very important way to look at costs in terms of your intervention. You may come out with a very good intervention, which came from a very good trial, but then it's very expensive. So will it be taken up? It's another issue you have to put into consideration. Finally, the last one, which I said, was maintenance or sustainability, both at individual level and organizational level. You may carry out a study, and the people here are the people are willing to take it in the community, if it's, for example, health-related study. But then, Ministry of Health cannot be able to fund such outcomes. So definitely, even if down there they are willing to take it, but once Ministry of Health cannot be able to fund the cost which will be involved, So definitely maintenance can be a big problem. And this is the framework, in short, the REAM framework, which they targeted to use throughout this study as they were following it up. So, as you look at this, the outcomes, one, first of all, they first encountered, because the pitch was an evaluation which involved people from different, who were following it, who have different funders, both the people evaluating and the people who were running the study. But if you notice, there were tensions between the evaluation team and the implementation delivery model, which were not anticipated. I've had an opportunity to work on an implementation study, and surely, yeah, these tensions will always be there, as because you find that the way you want the study was designed to be implemented is not the way it will be run on the ground, and you find that actually your ethics approval is also having a different protocol. Community lifestyle programs are dynamic and have flexibility to adapt the needs of its participants during implementation. You find that what you thought would be implemented, you face different challenges, which I said they are contextual, social, even financial, or behavioral challenges. You could have got some information from another community and you thought maybe you'd apply it here. But you find that it's a different community, they may not be able to take your intervention the way you had hypothesized. So you have to be flexible when you're running such an implementation science study. Compared to a randomized control trial, once you set up a protocol, it has to be maintained and implement the way it is. If at all you want to change, basically it's like you're adjusting the full protocol. But with implementation science, you will make adjustments within the protocol, but you try to stay in line with the target you wanted, the outcome, the component you wanted to implement. You also said that the participants were unlikely to consider research subjects. Yes, because this is you're taking it to routine practice, and somehow like you're trying to improve what people have been doing. So most people will think that it's part of care. And when you come back and say maybe you have to consent, so most people will ask, what is this? For us, we thought you were just bringing what? You're just bringing better care to us. And so there's no requirement to provide data in order to participate, or additional no incentive to complete evaluation. So they found that if they asked for more data, which was not considered in the randomized control trial, it was a challenge, because for them they thought the other one was a study, and this one, what they're carrying out, is not a study. These are the challenges actually. The second aim, which was to look at how exactly to define what we are able to learn. The ethics committees, as I said, implementation science is about, you call the community, you have hypothesized something, you reach there, but you find actually what you hypothesize and what is the protocol is not actually how you will implement your study. So you will have to be forced to go back to ethics committee for review. And you could see that they are trying to hypothesize that they should look at this research, ethics committee should try to look at practice-based research vis-a-vis research-based practice. So they are here trying to say maybe an RCT should not be looked at in the ethics committee together with with an implementation science program. Because here, the other one is done under ideal conditions, but here we're trying to look at both the condition we set up, but what is the behavioral change we're looking at. And we all know we can't determine people's behavior unless we try to stay closer to them. Then evaluation design challenges. When they went, they realized that actually this now was specific to the study, not actually general, because they found that actually they had their questionnaire, but then the way they wanted to evaluate, it was not the same the way the RCT had been carried out. So they had to update their questionnaire to look into the way the study is being is supposed to benefit basically their outcome. Then they also had the length and consent process may have been unanticipated and burdensome on participants who signed up for a community program. Because here now, people are asking themselves, what are you doing? They didn't know they're in the research project, then you are coming back, you think you're doing research, because then you are well told, this is a research project, you'll be protected. And now here you're coming out to do routine work, which is under research conditions. So most cases, consent will be a long process to explain why you're trying to consent these people. Then data collection. Because here you're trying to use routinely collected data, and we all know that routinely collected data is almost not always complete. If you go and look at Ministry of Health data forms or any data forms collected, even our medical forms we always fill on the words. you find that it's not really complete. But now here you are, you come to do an implementation science study, and you're going to use routine data, not bring in your own data collection tools. So this was an outcome they encountered. And here they said, consider central or pre-programmed collection of evaluation data to reduce burden on facilitators to collect data at early program sessions. They said program re-enrollments violate rigorous RC protocols, but are optimal in an upscale program. This is what I was discussing, which I was trying to say that here the RCT is well rigorous and rigid to its protocol, but here you have to be flexible. They say flexibility to enroll in upscale programs held in community is desirable, and time to be allocated to deal with data from these cases to manually exclude duplicates. This is now, because of their program was more of a continuous data collections exercise. That's why they encountered what? Duplicates. Process evaluation data are good in an RCT, but crucial for successful implementation of programs. Process data are challenging to identify and capture in real time. The key learning point, they said you have to identify, capture, and analyze the data, may be managed by the project delivery team. Because here, you want to use the project itself, which is delivering the program, to be able to collect your data for the implementation. So, I'll give an example. We was involved in a study which was implementing a rapidly initiating ART in different communities, and they had already data collection which they are doing. So here, we had to see whether we could as well use, we had a data collection team, but also the program delivery team had its own data collection. So could we here they're trying to say we try to use the program delivery team to be able to collect this data, because they can also assess the process very well. Which, if you're lucky and what you're trying to, okay, thank you, and what you're trying to capture will be possible, but then most people will be asking, because they will think now you're doing more of a different research or outside your budgeted time, your budgeted activities. So I first said now, as I conclude with the results answer research question, I think yes, because they had two questions. One of the questions, they wanted to see what exactly if you run from the beginning conception of an idea up the time you do a randomized control trial and take it back to the community, is it possible? And yes, they carried it out much as it took 17 years to be achieved, but it was able to be collected. Then secondly, what are the possible challenges using this as a case study? And they have really demonstrated and shown us the challenge we've had. And some of us who have carried out these kind of studies will also face similar challenges. So I believe that the question was well answered. And they used a framework which is well within their means by then. One of the shortfalls they gave is that this study, it was started in 2012, and it was just like a program study. They didn't even seek ethical approval from the beginning, so they had to seek ethical approval backwards. But then they discovered that there were other frameworks which had been published in early 2009, 2010, and probably somehow they believe they could also have been better frameworks to use, but by then they had not yet been really rigorously tested in different studies, so they couldn't just bring something which had just been published and not yet tested. That's why they believe they went for a real aim framework. However, they still leave a disclaimer that probably the other frameworks can as well do. What are the learning points? With implementation science, we have to know that it was conceived because most of the studies we carry out under routine settings, they are not put into practice. Under RCT settings, they are not put into practice. And we can as well also think of a study, if you can design over maybe an RCT on any observation study you have, and any outcome, you go ahead and put it in what? In implementation. And this takes time, not 1 year or 2 years. You can see that they patiently had to wait for 17 years to be able to carry out this study. And then we have to also know that differences between implementation science and other epidemiological studies. Yes, you find that other epidemiologists, they give exactly how you will carry out the study, different ways, but implementation science has a method that it's a backward and forward process. You find that you thought of something, an idea, you went to the field, but later realize that actually there's a better way you can implement this study. Then you go back to ethical approval and change and come back and implement it that way. That's what I mean with back and forward process. Different frameworks have come up in the last few years, as they also acknowledged that true, over the last few years they have seen different frameworks which have come up, and indeed in these journal clubs we've had different frameworks which have been discussed. As today you can see, we have had the opportunity to discuss the real AIM framework. Thank you very much.